I'm Brittany. I'm a licensed elementary school teacher, but I'm staying home right now with my 2 kids, and we are going to talk today about nonsense words. Okay, so there's something that you might not have heard before. You might have heard about it. They're called nonsense words. And this is something we use in elementary school when we're teaching phonics. Nonsense words are exactly what they sound like, nonsense words. But it's actually one of the ways that teachers use to assess children to see how well they can actually decode words. And these are, believe it or not, really important in assessing phonics. Now, I know if you're homeschooling, you're probably not going to be testing your child officially for a long time, and that's not what this is for. Assessments, really, the history of assessments in our country has changed dramatically. Assessment should simply be to say, where are we and where do we need to go? Unfortunately, assessments have become kind of bragging rights in the world, and we almost, I'm sure you've heard this phrase, teach to the test. We're teaching to the test rather than using the assessment simply to say, where are we and where do we need to take our children from here? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? How can we adapt their education to what they need? All that to say, if you really want to know how well a child is doing with phonics, you shouldn't be testing them on words that you've been practicing with them, because all sight words, all words that children decode eventually become sight words. So whether your child learns more phonetically, that means whether they sound everything out more, or whether they've learned sight words more, where they just recognize the words, they don't decode it, they don't stop to sound out the letters, they just know what the word is. If you're testing your child using words that they've studied a lot, like cat, cup, dog, bat, basic words, and you want to know how well they understand phonics and true decoding, they're probably going to have made some of those words into sight words. My daughter is an emergent reader. She's learning how to read right now. She's also, her writing has just taken off these last few weeks. She's writing everything. She literally spends hours every day writing words out and trying to sound them out, and it's fantastic. I love it. But something that I practice with her, because she is pretty good at picking up sight words, if she wants to learn it, it's gone. She's learned the word cat. She knows what cat is. She doesn't really have to sound it out anymore. And we want that. We want our children to really use the words that they have been practicing as sight. We want them to learn them as sight words eventually. But if you want to know where they are with their phonics abilities, that's where nonsense words come in. So when children decode, what they're doing is they're taking a unit, such as a word, and they're breaking it apart, and then they're putting it back together. And I played games with my daughter with this when she was quite young, 3 years old, where we'd just be driving in the car, and we wouldn't need any toys. We would just make a game out of it. I'd say, okay, the word bat. Can we take that apart? Can you make that word, take apart all those sounds? And so she would sit there, and I had to do it with her initially, but eventually she picked it up, where she would say b-at. And then say, oh, we pulled it apart. Now let's put it together. B-at, bat. And we did that over and over and over again. And no, she wasn't actually looking at the letters, but she was learning how to break things apart. And breaking words apart is actually, it's harder than what we give our kids credit. Rather, it's harder than I think we remember it being, because we're so used to doing it. So what we're doing when we have a nonsense word is we take a word that's not really a word, and we put it together, and we say, okay, what is this word? And now I will say, it's not fair ahead of time to not tell your child that it's not a real word, because they will probably sound it out and think, well, that doesn't sound right, and they'll probably guess another word that's like it and say, oh, it must be that. When I do this with my daughter, I tell her, these are nonsense words. They're not real words. They're not going to make any sense. We're just going to practice sounding them out. And no, it's not her favorite activity, but it's good for her, because I'm forcing her out of her comfort box. I'm forcing her to use words that she doesn't usually use. And so I love these letter cubes. I've talked about them before. I'll put a link in the description, or a link in my blog, which will be in the description, where you can actually go buy them if you decide these are good for you. The reason I love them is because they have blue consonants, and there I think are at least 2 consonants, 2 cubes for each consonant. And on one side, you've got the lowercase, lowercase, uppercase, which I love. And then the vowels are in red. Same thing, upper and lower. So we use CVC words, which are consonant, vowel, consonant. So, again, I hope this isn't backwards for you. I don't know how the camera's going to put it, but G-U-P, gup. This is not a word that we use in everyday language usually, unless you're watching Octonauts. Which, you know, it's not the worst show, but I've watched so many Octonaut episodes, it's not even funny. Okay, it's actually not a bad show, it's a pretty good show, but gup. So what I'll do is I say, okay, this is our word, look at it, now we're going to take it apart. So I will physically take these apart, and now I will put these up. Again, it's hard because of the angle of the camera, but I'll say, okay, what does this sound make? We'll look at it, just say gup. What about this one? What about this one? P, g, p. And remember, the important thing is when you're starting this with children, you can't just drop it and just tell them what to do and expect them to figure it out based on your instructions. You want to do it with them. You actually want to sound things out with them, have them copy you, have them echo you. And you want to do this over and over and over again until they get tired of you and say, okay, I can do it myself. Because they will usually pick this up pretty quickly. But you don't want to just drop them into the activity and expect them to know what you're doing. So once you do that, you'll say, okay, we're going to put them together, and you'll literally squish them together. And you can do this with other things that aren't cubes. I mean, you could write this on pieces of paper and cut it up. That would be fine. This is just a tool that I love to use because it seems to work for my daughter. So you put them together and you say g, up. Oh, okay, let's put them closer together now. Gup, gup, gup. And so you get a little faster each time. The word is gup. Now, I'm to the point with my daughter where I can do this, and she doesn't really need a whole lot of my help anymore. It's more kind of just reminding her not to cheat and that she has to actually sound everything out. I'm trying to do this so I can show it to you guys easier. I need more sleep. So, another one. V, v, ix, vix. Let's put it together. V, ix. Oh, geez. I'm doing this backwards, sorry. All right, here we go. Put it together. Wow. Vix. So what we're doing is we're using words that aren't real words, but we're forcing our children to sound things out because they're not words that they're going to recognize. They're not going to recognize these words because they're not real words. They are just words that we have made up. And that way you can, if you want, okay, so if we were doing, for example, the AT family, the AT family for word families, and I wanted to see if my daughter had really mastered the AT family. Word families are families of words, groups of words that end the same way, they rhyme. So let's see. Where's T? Lost my T. Do D. Okay, so if I had, for example, do P maybe. So if I wanted to see if my daughter understood that all words that end with P, app, end the same way, I would use that word family, but I would stick a word on the beginning that's not a real word. So F, F, app, fap. We would want to see how quickly our children can actually read this word using their newfound skills. If they're still having to sound out each sound without using the word family, they need to probably keep practicing that word family some more. If they're still having a hard time sounding out the letters themselves, we probably need to go back and review letter sounds by themselves. And remember, with homeschooling, one of the best things about homeschooling is that you can pivot. You can pivot to whatever needs your children have. But using nonsense words, again, is just a great way to assess where are we in our ability to read these words. Can we pick them up quickly? Do we recognize that word group at the end of the word? You know, is that something we recognize quickly? Can we put our old skills to the test? So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about nonsense words or use, ways that you can implement them, please don't hesitate to drop a question in the comments. You can email me at brittany.perl.teach. That's Perl .teach@gmail.com. You can go to my website. On my blog, I have a list of the resources that I use in these videos that if you decide you want them for your family, you can go pick them up. I'm really not a proponent of saying you must have this manipulative to homeschool because, gosh, for years kids only learned to read with, chalk and a chalkboard. So there are definitely tools that you don't have to have, but if you see it and you're like, wow, that would be great for my family or my kid would love that, I'll put them there. We will be doing more videos soon, and I apologize I haven't been making quite as many videos lately. I also write fiction. That's actually where I make my money. And I have a launch coming up for a book. I'm launching my book. So I've been extra busy lately. But I look forward to doing more videos. As always, if you have a question or you have a question for a video that you would love me to do, drop me a line, put it in a comment. I'd love to get to know you and hopefully help you out if you need it. All right, you have a great day, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you make sure you get all the videos in the future, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.